10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Through Black and White Eyes. It's going to be a great show tonight. We've got Warren. What an absolute star for coming back on again for the third time. It's a hat-trick. It's probably his first hat-trick of his career, to be fair. And we've got Mauro and Gary, as always, as well, talking about the banter of the transfer window. Tonight, we are trying to raise money for Maria Curie, who are an absolute fantastic charity in the Northeast, who look after people at end of life with cancer. Unfortunately, myself, my family, partner's family, have had to deal with something like that, and so has John. So that's why we've chosen that charity is the channel's main charity going forward. So if you'd like to donate tonight, we will give a prize to the person who donates the most tonight, but it will be going to charity. So please dig deep if you can, and that'll be absolutely amazing if you do. So let's bring the boys in and make sure they're in the right order. Let's get Warren at the top. Sorry, Mauro, relegated to the bottom.
No problem. No problem at all.
How is everyone?
It's only because it's age. That's why he's done it, Mario. So don't worry, it's age.
Brilliant. So, Warren, thank you so much for coming on again. I mean, it's third time it's your hat trick. It's amazing, and the time you give us fans is absolutely exceptional. So, thank you so much for doing it. And I believe Gary and Mauro want to ask you a question. Gary, do you want to go first?
I've been thinking about this all day. You know. Right. I don't know if you can remember back in 2000 when we played Chelsea in the semi-final. I was at the game, and that was one of the best atmospheres I've ever experienced. I was just wondering what your favourite atmosphere was that you were involved in.
Oh, yeah, good question. I always think the first game, when we played, myself, Les, David Ginola and Shaka, we played at home against Coventry and we won the game. That atmosphere will always stick in my mind because of being the first. I remember saying to Les Ferdinand, we was warming up, I said, all I can see is a black and white shirt. So the whole stadium at the time was 36,000 fans was there. It wasn't as it was now, but the whole stadium was black and white. The Barcelona game, Champions League, there was a real special atmosphere there. Not only the first time playing in the Champions League, but you're playing against a giant of a club like Barcelona, and obviously being 3-0 up with Tino getting a hat trick. Talking of hat tricks, there's one to go with Tino. He done it on the field. I done it on the Zoom calls. There's a little bit difference between me and Tino. But touching on semi-finals. I think when we played Sheffield United at Old Trafford, and I remember my family being in the stadium, and my wife said she thought the actual stadium was going to start crumbling because the whole stadium was bouncing. So them two games particularly stand out, the two semi-finals at Old Trafford, because the fans getting back to Wembley, going to a final. It's just our bloody luck that we play someone that's going for the treble with Man United and someone that had done the double and was building the invincible. So, but yeah, that was a great atmosphere. And obviously when Rob Lee scored the header, but bloody Gus Poyet pops up again and breaks our hearts. But yeah, there's very, very lucky. And Alan touched on it, Shearer, about the atmosphere in the last probably 7 or 8 games in last season, towards the end of the season. Yeah. And it does remind me of what we used to have every week. The expectation, the excitement, the pride, the passion coming out just as you're going down the stairs and coming up. But them ones are the atmosphere, and that's why I'm enjoying it so much to see the fans enjoying going to St James's Park rather than walking up the stairs bloody dreading it and thinking, well, what are we going to watch today? So, but that was a special atmosphere at Wembley. And it would have been lovely for Sir Bobby to get to a final. And as I said, if we got to the final, we might have played. I think it was against Middlesbrough. It might have been or Aston
Middlesbrough,
Villa. Yeah, Barrow or Villa, one of them. So it would have been interesting. Villa to go against them. So that would have been interesting to do that.
I remember that semi-final as well because I was there, Gary as well, and I was only 15, I think, at the time. And it was
thanks, fellas. That makes it well. That's why you put me at the top there, thanks, Gary. Yeah,
I was only a burner, no?
Yeah, thank you very much.
But it was incredible. It was incredible.
I think we just. I think back to that game because we deserved to win that day.
Yeah, robbed.
Well, robbed the whole game, and I think. I remember seeing Alan's face on Shearer when he come off the pitch, and that's one of the most disappointing I've ever seen him. Yeah. Because I think he knew as well if we got to the final, I think he thought we could beat Villa in the final.
Yeah, I agree.
I think, and that's all he ever. I think all he ever wanted was to win some silverware for the club.
Anything.
So anything would have done. But hopefully now we'll have other times that we look to go forward with the new signings. I know we're going to touch on that later, but. We've got a way to go, but we're getting there, which is great.
The other one you touched on was Old Trafford. My dad and my mum went to that one, and this is what they said as well. The stewards were shocked in that big stand because it was moving, and they've never seen anything like it because the Man United fans don't know how to jump up and down and sing and celebrate, do they?
Well, none of them are from Manchester. That's why.
Well, that's why. Exactly.
They're all visiting and taking pictures. They're all tourists.
I got hammered for saying that on Twitter. I'm not going to say it again. Mauro, your question for Warren?
Hi, Warren. So first of all, I must say it's an absolute honor and privilege to be here with you because you were one of my heroes at the time when I started to watch Newcastle. That was here, I think, 95, 96. It's your first season at Newcastle, and it was here. We had a 5-year war in Croatia, former Yugoslavia falling apart, and that's just the ending of the war. Everything was so depressive. Tried to watch Croatian Football League. That was even more depressive than the war itself, really bad. And there was one new private TV that started showing Premiership games. And in reality, the first game of Newcastle that I watched, I was gobsmacked. I was, watching with open mouth. I couldn't believe such attractive football you guys were playing, such atmosphere on the ground, and you had an amazing season. But looking from here, not just that season, but a couple of seasons after, I always had the feeling that there was the whole league, maybe not the Newcastle fans, of course, maybe not some neutral fans that like the football, but like the Premiership and the big guys, that they all wanted Manchester United to win. They prefer, from the 92, they were their poster boys and the big team. And did you maybe at that famous season, did you feel at any time that like the league and everything was against you and refereeing decisions and stuff?
Well, that's a good question. Yeah, no, that's a good question.
You could say,
again, when we went to Croatia a couple of years later to play in the Champions League, and we got a result there. So I remember going to Croatia. Listen, you made up for your football in Croatia with someone like Modric. So you're doing okay. You're not doing bad. You've got some attractive players yourself now, some great players. No, I never felt that it was the country. I felt that maybe the reverse, that Manchester United and particularly our Sir Alex Ferguson was in the media. Putting pressure on the referee. If you remember that sort of time, which has never really been done before, it was the mind games. Yeah. Like, they're going to push over because it's Newcastle. They're going to get a decision. Yeah. And and at Manchester, there was always Fergie time. It wasn't like the regular time. And maybe that's why they put the boards up now, so everybody can actually know how much time there is, rather than Sir Alex Ferguson saying to the referee, right, that's it, you can blow your whistle now. So, but being part of the entertainers, like you said, the football. Because of Kevin Keegan's personality, which translated to us as players on the field, we become sort of box office. So we was always on a Sunday afternoon with the new deal with Sky, or the Monday night football as well. And Manchester United was allowed to play, on a Saturday, get their job done, win the game, and then they could sit back and watch us and see how we would perform. And then it just snowballed into a little bit of pressure. And as I said, with Sir Alex Ferguson, but I think because of the style of football, we've become everybody's second favourite team. Maybe because Manchester United have got so much power globally with their fans, and Sir Alex has put some pressure on through the media, really, to referees and calls. So there was that, but we didn't really get involved until, I think everybody remembers the time with Kevin Keegan against Leeds when Keith Gillespie scored, and Kevin had just had enough and had a go at Sir Alex Ferguson. But probably Fergie exactly got what he wanted. He'd seen that Kevin had been waiting, and it was a bit of a volcano, and he erupted. But we was never going to change. Kevin Keegan was never going to change. And if we was going to win it, hindsight, Mario's a great thing. If maybe we could have done this, maybe we didn't lose at home against Man United, but Kevin wanted to win it a certain way for the fans, and he was never going to change. If he was going to do it, that's how we're going to do it. And there's never a day goes by that I don't, and I think I can speak for everybody, that we don't think, well, if we could have maybe had a bit more experience or done this, it could have been so different. And not for us, not for the players, but for the city, for the football club, and obviously for the fans and the people in the North East, because they deserved of what supporting the club for many, many years to have that. But that's what makes it so bittersweet, is because it was such exciting times. It was so much fun. It was, as I said, it really, we're talked about as one of the teams like the Invincibles and as I said, the team that won the treble. And we're talked about as the entertainers, and we never won it. And I don't think there's any other team that they really talk about. You talk about Mourinho's teams now, you talk about Pep's teams, Klopp's teams, but we always get a mention in the style of football and the fans, the whole package. We was the whole package, what we was doing. Every time we went to a stadium, it was sold out. We was the first ones to go to Ewood Park and sell the whole stadium out behind the back of the goal. That was us. And so we was doing that, breaking records at home, people queuing for tickets, people queuing for shirts. And we still get spoken about highly and fondly about that, and we never won it, which is a nice thing. But it would have been, I would have took all the stick and just say, well, they won it and just get away with it. Like Leicester, you don't really hear too much about that, and that was a wonderful story. What they went and done. But we're always spoke about of the Shearers and the Janola's goals and the Fastino, and then the shirt, the collars, and the kit. So great times, Mario. Wonderful time to be involved in. You started following the team when obviously it was doing well, and that's what makes this last 14 years been so tough, because all they want, the fans, is just for their team to compete and try, and they've not been allowed to do that. So that's why everybody's in euphoria at the moment and celebrating on the streets when they get rid of an owner and the coach leaves, and people are saying, oh, you're getting too excited. No, they've had 14 years of suffering. So they're going to let it go. And if there's one group of people, Geordies, know how to celebrate, it's that lot, because that they can do it with the best of them. So, hopefully we get some more times, Mario, and you can let other people know how great the club is now, how great the fans are.
I've never seen a takeover celebrated so much in my life. I mean, it was crazy.
Baz, I've never seen an ownership like take over a football club and rejuvenate an area, like a town, a city, where before it was divided. It was just, no one was happy. I went up there a couple of times. It was just flat, and then just by taking over, it just rejuvenated everybody. Whether it was the people working in the offices, whether it was people working in the metro centre or downtown, whatever it was, everybody's pulling in the right direction, and that can be a powerful thing.
Yeah, washing windows.
Just clean it, exactly. Yeah. Just cleaning the window made so much.
And that's what I wanted to bring on next, is obviously the owners and everyone who was involved in it. Obviously, your word on it, Warren. How much of a difference have they made? Obviously, you've touched on it already a bit, but it's just incredible, isn't it? Just in the uplift.
My statement is they get it. They get what the football club is. They haven't come in and said we're going to mirror PSG or we're going to mirror Manchester City. We're going to keep what Newcastle is, but obviously develop in a way. And they've been sensible in their transfers. In January, the first one, and I spoke to the owner about this when I was over at Newcastle. To get someone like Kieran Trippier for £12 million, an international player, and there was no buy-on clause, there's no clauses, and just to get him, the first one made a statement, because it was like, okay, he's 31 or 30 years of age. He's an England international. He's just won the Liga with a club that normally is dominated by Barcelona or Real Madrid. So he's been, under the guidance of one of the most tactically astute coaches in the world, with Simeone, and he's coming to Newcastle that's in a relegation battle. He gets what the owners are trying to do, and it was similar to my time. And I said in the media, I said the fans will love him because he was the first one. He was the first one to say, you know what, I'm coming. I'm buying into this vision that the club are doing. I know what the club can potentially be like. And then there was a knock-on effect, and then obviously got players on loan. And Bruno was the icing on the cake because he's a proper player. He's a real class. But he wouldn't have come if it probably maybe wasn't for him seeing Trippier, because Trippier was a statement. I know he's a fullback, and I know he's only a right back and a defender, but he's still, everybody knows he's a proper player.
Yes.
So the owners have done the things like you've said, clean the windows, spoke to the fans. The food bank invested in whatever you're doing that day. We'll give you some more. It's little things, going into the training ground and saying, like, we're going to remodel this, speaking to the women's team that we're going to invest in you. We're not going to leave you aside. We're going to invest. You're going to be part of it. Invest in the city, in the people, speaking to the fans, the celebration of the owner, jumping in with all the kids at the Gallagher end, them type of things we've never seen, we've never seen that before, but there's a plan. And when I spoke to them, there's a vision of what they see the club going. And even in their last transfer window, when we've just obviously signed the defender, they wasn't going to overspend. If you remember when Abramovich started going with Chelsea, he had to overspend. And with all, he didn't really care. He was just spending it. But this organisation and this group of players are going to do the right thing, and they're not going to be manipulated or bullied into it. I think they spend when they need to. Yeah. When they see the right, if another Bruno comes along and they think, well, if we need to spend another 3 or 4 million to get it. I mean, we've just gone toe to toe with AC Milan, and we've got a player. Now, people can say, well, he's only come for the money, or what. With all due respect, people wasn't going to Manchester City for the food and the weather when it all took over. So we're not going to be naive. So to have that come in, and I just think, as I said, my biggest compliment is they get it, and speaking to it, they're good people, they're business people, they understand the business side, but they understood what Newcastle was all about. They understood the most important thing in the city is the football club, and the most important thing in the football club is the fans, and that they got that from day one, and that's not easy to do. I was told by, when I went with people like Lee Clark, Peter Beardsley, Steve Watson, you better get the fans first, because that without them we're nothing, and that was quite apparent early on from when we signed, and that's translated again into in recent weeks that we've seen. So it's been lovely to watch. They've enjoyed it. I don't think they knew how much affection and love he was going to get. You touched on it there, where the fans was celebrating them taking over. I don't think they, in their wildest dreams, could ever imagine that happening, and it did. And I think it overwhelmed them. It's like, wow, these people love us, and we haven't done anything. All we've done is took over the club. We haven't even invested, and I think they felt a sense, and I'm only speaking for me and not for them, obviously, but they felt a responsibility of, and if you can embrace that responsibility and enjoy that rather than let it suffocate you, that's a wonderful thing, because you can have the power to give so much joy to so many people by doing the little things, and it means so much. And as I said, I can't speak highly enough, and hopefully it continues. And even if it doesn't, for this season, next season, we end up being mid-table or wherever we may end up, they're still trying to do the right thing. And they're still trying to do it in a way that they think it's going to benefit Newcastle Football Club in the long term, like in the academy. They're investing. They're speaking to Steve Harper, brought a technical director in that you need. A manager can't do it. They've got Eddie Howe, who's a young, vibrant manager, articulate. He's got a point to prove. Now, is he going to be here 15 years? I don't know. I hope so. But even if it's that stepping stone to get to where you want to get to, they're doing the right thing at the time for the football club. And I think the fans understand that and appreciate that.
I agree. And I think the whole Amanda Staveley coming out and saying she wanted to buy the club and then failed and then kept going, that's where all the love built. And then when it actually happened, they never give up. That was the thing. And that's one thing that I learned playing for Newcastle. And when I had difficult times in the game and it wasn't going well, you don't give up, because the people up there don't give up. They don't, on a Thursday when they're working hard, they think,
That's not in their mentality to give up. They just keep going, they keep working, and they appreciate that. And I think that's another thing that they appreciate. They never turn their back and thought, okay, we might now look at a Sheffield Wednesday or an Everton or whoever, Nottingham Forest. They know this is the club we want, and we're going to have to dig our heels in and fight for it. And the fans will adore them for that, because it took them away of what they've had for 14 years. Yeah, exactly. 14 years they took them out of that. So hopefully it can continue. Hopefully, we've got many, many years of enjoying the ownership.
I think we have. We'll move on to this man. He obviously been at the club for a very long time. We have to say it's a sad day for the Newcastle Football Club, because whenever we see a physio race, we never lost one. It's as simple as that. This man was rapid on the sideline. Any funny stories, Warren, about him?
Many with Derek. I mean, first and foremost, when I first signed, he come down to Harley Street where I was having a small operation. I was just signed for the club, and he come down, and just a really, really lovely man, a real gentleman, interesting about the game, interesting about what he was working. He was one of the boys. When we would go, you've seen the famous stories and pictures of when we used to go out. Him and Tomo, the kit man. Tomo's still there. Ray Thompson, he's still there, and we love him to death. Our Christmas parties, we used to always invite them. They would come along. You remember, I think Steve Howie told the story where Derek was getting told off by Kevin Keegan about going out with the boys, and he was dressed as a pink fairy with his little star and his hat on, and we're all laughing. And Kevin's trying to be serious, and Derek's dressed up like that, and just a lovely man. And Les Ferdinand was as much as Les is a lovely man, he had a wicked side to him, because we would play games at home, and Les would say to me or whoever, I'm going to go down in the corner and I'm going to let Derek run, because it started to become a thing in the Premier League, who was the quickest trainer. So he would go down in the far corner somewhere, Les, with a little knock, and make out he was down. And he could hear the roaring of the sprint. And as Derek would get about 5 feet away, Les would stand up and say, "No, I'm all right, Derek." But he would do it constantly, and Derek had to keep doing it, because one, he had his personal pride about beating the next trainer, but also he was about how quick, because he built up this reputation of being quick. He couldn't just, although it was Les on the floor, he couldn't just jog over there. He had to sprint, and the whole 52,000 people was cheering him on as he sprinted. And as he get 5 feet away, Les would stand up, and Derek would go, "You bastard, you done me again, you bastard." And we'd take it in turns trying to do it, but just a real great guy. Epitomizes what the club is all about. He loves the football club. He used to love going in. We'd always have a smile and a joke, and he'd make fun. But again, I still keep in contact with him. That's nice. Texted him a little while ago when my son was over there, my oldest son. So yeah, it's a sad day, and again, it makes you feel really old, because Derek's part of the furniture. He's always been there, but like I said on social, he's a gentleman and a class act, and I can't wish anything better for him to enjoy himself. He was lots of good stories, but was always had the right way of treating everybody. He was a trainer and people and a physio, but when we was out, he was always, as I said, a lovely, lovely man, and we wish him well. And it'd be nice when we do go over and maybe watch a game, and if we can, with Alan, and meet up and reminisce, because he was a big part of us. He was a big part of that entertainers, him and Tomo in particular.
Yeah, I mean, the races were legendary.
Oh yeah,
they really were.
He had a little waddle as well. He could waddle around as he was doing it down.
I mean, he's not a small bloke either, so he was rapid for his size as well. I wouldn't want to mess with him.
I was always scared he was going to trip.
No, he had them quick little feet as well. He had little bow legs, but he was built for comfort, not speed. But he was rapid. He could run. He could run.
So next one, anyhow, I think it's really important that we come back a better team, and think those players definitely help us do that. So he's talking about the new signings. So far, out of 10, Warren, Eddie Howe's job so far as the Newcastle manager.
I think you have to say 10. It's impossible to win. What was it, 11, 12 games that he had to win? We not won a game. We never looked like we was going to win a game. To bring the players in. If you remember, when we signed Bruno, and he was desperate to play, and he resisted to put him in, and then when he did put him in, he hit the ground running and was arguably one of the best players towards the end of the season in the Premier League, let alone at Newcastle. I thought he was brilliant. There was a poll going around who's been the best player since, I think it was like April. I think you'd have to put him in that bracket, Bruno. I think the way he's handled the media, and there was tough questions asked about the ownership, and he's answered that in a way that's fitting of a manager at Newcastle. As I said, for me, the first thing that really hit home for me, and it reminded me of Kevin Keegan would do it, and definitely Sir Bobby Robson would have done it. When he come in at 6 o'clock in the morning, his first day for training, turn up, he didn't leave until about 10:30, 11 o'clock, and there was a supporter outside waiting. It would have been easy for him to drive off, head down, making out he's on his phone. I didn't see the fan. He stopped the car, got out, signed the autograph, spoke for a couple of moments, and then drove off. That day, like I said, with the owner, he got it. He was, like you said, he was privileged. It's an honour to be involved with Newcastle United, not just as a coach, but just to be involved in the club. It's, in my opinion, I think in a lot of people's opinion, it's an honour. And he said that. And he's done well with, you can say, some of the substitutions, but the way he's got the team motivated, even going round after the Burnley game, it was like they were doing a lap of honour. They beat Burnley 1-0. Yeah. We beat Watford and Bradford 1-0, and we got booed off. So we'd won the game 1-0, and we got booed off for doing that. But as I said, the expectations now and the pressure starts to mount, and it'd be interesting that people now, like you've touched on social, everyone will have an opinion now. He should be doing this. He should be trying. There'll be a lot of people that can't wait to stick the knife in. By the way,
definitely.
That will be an agenda with a lot of people, and that's part of the job. I would like to know what he's done over the summer in the sense of like looking forward. Would he have been one that just switched off and just took a deep breath and been with his family, because he was living. The family wasn't around, and he was throwing himself into it. So being with them, how he's going to mix the group of players in. But if you're asking me from when he come into what happened at the end of the season, it's 10 out of 10. And I can't really think of an example where you can say, well, he got that wrong.
Spurs, maybe?
Yes, maybe Spurs. That was the one. That was the one. That jumps out. That would have been the one, Spurs. So maybe, but I think the others cover over that. So I'm not going to change my mind. Don't put pressure. I'm not going to put pressure on Buckland. I'm going to give him 10. I think he deserves 10. He's got my backing. Yeah, he's got my backing. Definitely. But it'd be interesting now, gentlemen, how he navigates, and he's got more players, more expectation, the excitement to be there. I think we need a striker. I think we need a couple of offensive players to give it a few more options. I think with genuine pace would be something, because that's how I think he wants us to play. So that would be interesting. And maybe, as I said, in that midfield area, can he get the same out of Joe Linton? Can he do that? That's a sign of a coach. When he come in, I always think it's, to go and buy players is one thing, but can you make the players in the club you've got better? And I think he's done that. And to have a goalkeeper is something that I think we needed. I mean, the other one's done great, but goalkeeper, a centre half that we wanted, and like I said, we're going toe to toe now with AC Milan and Chelsea with players, rather than just thinking, well, what's left out there that we can get on loan? That was what we was under 10 months ago. Now all of a sudden we're going toe to toe with the likes of AC Milan, who've just won their Scaletta for the first time in 11 years, 12 years. So we're outbidding players and teams like that to get players. So but there comes expectation and pressure. But he'll always get my backing, because I think he's got his heart's in the right place and he wants to do the right thing. So, hey, listen, if he don't win in the first 10 games, he knows that. There'd be someone that would love to walk into the club, but I can't foresee that happening. I hope not. But that's how the game can be. That's how that's how realistic the game can be.
I agree. Mauro, what are you giving Eddie? 10 out of 10 as well? Do you agree?
10 out of 10, definitely.
Yeah, Gary.
Same, 10 out of 10. Well, what he's done with Joe Linton and Fabian Shaw, players like that. 10 out of 10, fantastic. Easy.
And things like Almiron, where he's sort of being left out, and the agent he's sort of been able to get him back into it, because he went with Fraser and went with other players that was overlooking, but to get him back into it and to buy into to what's going along. And that's the hardest thing sometimes as a coach. I know that when I'm coaching is it's not just your starting 11 to keep motivated. It's the players in and around that's going to, not be big part players, but are going to finish games off and bring them on. He's been able to keep them motivated with the atmosphere and with the excitement in the football club. So that's another sign of a good coach. His man management skill has been good as well.
Yeah, I can't think of one player who's went back under Eddie Howe. They've just all gone forward.
No, yeah. John Joe Shelby. I think he was public enemy number one with Joe Linton. He was get him out, but I think Eddie's clever enough, and so Bobby was like this as well. And so Alex Ferguson going back is getting rid of players when you need to, like, use the player for what you need, and then just to say, you know what, you've done great. I wish you well. Richie might be one of them. But where we're going, you're not going to be involved as much as you want. So thank you what you've done, and move on. I just see if Eddie's got that in his locker as well with one or two, because this train's going, this train's moving, and a couple of people are going to have to get off at different stations, and they might be one of these players. How we're moving on, I don't know. That's you look at certain players. They might do so much in the change room. It's worth them keeping along. But I know with Sir Bobby, with me and Rob Lee, he used us for what we needed to, which is fine. And then as soon as he knew Aaron Hughes, Andy Griffin was ready to play 35 games a season, thanks, Warren, you're great. You can either work in the academy or we'll shake hands and we'll wish you well. The same with Rob Lee. You've done great, Rob. We've got you back from the ashes when Rude Hullet just pushed you aside. But we've got Jermaine Genius coming in. We've got players, Kieran Dyer, that are ready to go forward, and we wish you well, and off you go. And that's Fergie used to do that, when he did it.
He did it with his strikers, didn't he, all the time?
Yeah. As soon as get someone like Teddy Sheridan in when it wasn't, or Van Persie, people like that. Get
Henrik Larsson.
Get you in for a year or so. Michael Owen, as much as he's not well liked at Newcastle, but he got Michael for what he needed to, used him for a year, won him a title, and then said, thanks very much, I'm moving you on.
I have heard rumours that he's doing that with John Joe Shelby. He's basically said he's got 1 year left on his contract. He wants him to stay for the year, but after that year, there isn't enough contract on the table for you. So you can either stick for the year, then find a new club, or we could shake hands now if you want to find another club. That's absolutely fine. But I do want you to be here for a year. So he's got a decision to make himself as well. So maybe he does have that ruthless streak. So we hope so, because he needs to have it, doesn't he?
Yeah, no, you can't be everybody's friend. You can't be everybody's mate. It's impossible to do that. So and if John Joe Shelby, I would think he would say, like Bobby said to me, like, you can stay for a year. But I said, Gaffer, I'm like 33. I feel like I can play for a couple of, because you're retired a long time. So I was like, I'm going to take the chance and play somewhere else. But I want to thank you for the opportunity. So I think if I'm John Joe Shelby, say, listen, my pedigree's gone up in recent weeks because of you and because of my performance. I've got my head down. I'm gonna go somewhere else, but I'm gonna wish you well. So that's the way of the world.
It is. So obviously we touched on this man. We tried to sign him in January. We beat AC Milan to his signature. I don't think AC Milan were ever going to be able to afford him, to be honest with you, all the trouble the club's in. So it kind of came in our favour. Sven said himself, it's a great project. Playing in the Premier League was a deciding factor in his move, not money, hint, hint. AC Milan gave me a good feeling, but Newcastle felt just a little bit better in the end. The Premier League has been a dream all my life. And Eddie says, I'm delighted. He's technical, physically very good, and a great attitude. At 22, he is already experienced at the top level. He's obviously won the French league, beating PSG to it, and it's normally PSG's to win every year, isn't it? And he says he's looking forward to getting him integrated with his new teammates. Warren, do you know much of Botman? We personally think he's the next Virgil van Dijk or Jaap Stam, or we hold him that high regard already.
Yeah, and I would agree. When you put someone's name in them brackets, he's obviously still got a bit of time to go, but his physical presence, he's good with his feet. He's got the potential and the profile to be arguably one of the best defenders around. And to be in the Premier League, it's going to challenge him physically and mentally. Physically, he can handle it, the size of him coming in. He's another option. Do we play 3 at the back? Do we go 2 at the back with Byrne? Do we have fullbacks with Trippier and Target pushing on? And what I liked as well is that we did try very, very aggressively to try and get him in January, but wasn't going to be pushed in it. Maybe his club was saying, well, no, we want to keep him here, and he didn't push it. But in the end, it was like, right, we're going to get in now, and we've got him. And now, whether it is because the Premier League is where everybody wants to be, and it's been his dream, and a few 100,000 here and there obviously helps pounds. With all due respect, I don't really care. You know, we need a player, and that's what the Premier League is about now. And I think it's exactly what we needed. I think the fans are going to love him. I've noticed his distribution is excellent. You know, he's able to play a long pass. He doesn't mind defending. You know, that's another thing. He's not a ball playing centre half. He will put himself into areas, and I think not only defensively from set pieces, but obviously attacking wise, he's going to be a threat. Yeah, how can you go wrong? 22 years of age. What was it? 37 million pounds. I know that seems crazy now when you talk about that money, but you know, what was it? Carl Walker went for 40, 50 million pounds. So
you say that, and you look at that.
I know. I said that to our kids. You know, and you know, that's for me. You know, that's where going back to what I said about the ownership. They've been shrewd in their business. They're intelligent people. They get what they want. I think if they needed to spend a bit more than AC Milan, and you're probably right, they didn't have the money, and probably the ownership felt, well, if we can spend another 5 million and we get him in the bigger picture, that's worth it. Because if we end up finishing 8th, 7th instead of 12th, that's you've got your money back. So it's huge. And I think, as I said, it's another statement of signing an international players coming to Newcastle. That's you know, you've got the goalkeeper, England international, a left back. In some people's opinion, should have at least been given probably could have had the opportunity to be in the England squad with Gareth Southgate. Wasn't when, but you know, has played regular football at a high level in the Premier League. And when you look at that, you know, that 5 for that value, I think it's great business. And, you know, he might be that Bruno signing that we wanted at the back. I mean, Burns, the big fella, has been phenomenal and been great and really been a heartbeat and determination. But this fella's a little bit more cultured as well on the ball. So I'm really excited about him coming along. He's got a little bit of Philip Albert about him where he can play.
I was thinking that.
But also, you know, someone that's...
He can defend.
Philip, that wasn't Philip's strong point, but he was good at chipping people. He could chip a good ball, Philip. Defending, no, not. You wouldn't have him in your lineup to do that. But you know, playing wise as well, he could play. But I'm excited, really excited about that.
I mean, looking at those 5, and then you bring in Lascelles and Shaw as well. Going back to your days, would you say this back 5 is better than the 5 that we had back then, or is it on par? Do you think it could defend a bit better?
Can I just, for the record, our when we come second, our record was second or third best in the league. So
it actually was,
it was. So if you go with our record, it wasn't. I blame it on Bez. Bez always used to go. It was always 2 against 1 with Ginolo, because Ginolo was never going to run back and help. I had Keith and Bull Fox and people like that could help me out. But listen, if I'm like Trippier, I was a good player, but he's a better player than me, I think. That's me being.
He both played for England.
So but he's a top class player. Steve Howie, when he was fit, was a top class defender. Philip Albert and Bez. I'm a big fan of John Beresford. Harry never got an England cap. I never know at the time, because it was Stuart Pearce and Graham Lascelles, and then other than that, there wasn't too many. So Bez definitely deserved it. But I think there's a lot of similarities with the 4. What you like about them, they complement each other. You know, like me and Bez was athletic, and KK wanted us to push forward and go up high to allow Keith and David Ginolo to come inside if we need it. If we didn't give them the ball early enough, if we kept having a touch, then they would come inside and we'd go outside, or vice versa. So there was a lot of ways of playing the way that we could with Kevin Keegan. But what we did it on a long term. You know, 5 years, 4 years, 3. Finishing second, getting the cup finals. Let's see how this lot go, and we want them to do that. I really do. I've always said I want them to experience what I had, because I'm never going to get that again. I've had my time, but I want them to experience what I had. And we spoke at the beginning, when I was asked, what was your experience like? We had that. And I want these players and these new fans to experience that what we had when you were 16, going to games and watching it. So I want them to experience that as well.
Definitely, well said.
Yeah, definitely.
Just for everyone in the chat, I'm sorry we're not getting to any chats because there is a lot to go through tonight, and obviously Warren's here for an hour, so we want to use that to get his expert opinions. But everyone, please remember, all donations tonight are going to go to Maria Curie, so please dig deep into your pocket. If everyone donates £1, they'll get 265 quid. Because there's 265 people watching. So please help us out. Please help that charity in the Northeast because they are.
What you mean they haven't turned off yet? They haven't turned off.
No, they haven't, mate. They haven't. It's actually gone up by 7 now as well. 272.
There can't be anyone on TV. They must have turned the programs off. So.
See, what I did, Warren, is I put you on at 6 because I didn't want you to compete with Love Island. You see, so.
Yeah, see, that's good. That's good.
Always thinking, mate. Always thinking.
Good man.
Right now, we're on to some rumours. So Newcastle United ready to compete with AC Milan, Monaco, and West Ham in the sign Belotti. Would this be a good signing, Warren, or is it one that do you think we're interested in? He's a striker. I don't know a lot about him personally because I don't watch a lot of Italian football, but I'm sure
he's a talented player. He's strong. He's robust. Scored goals. I wouldn't say he's prolific. One that jumps out, you're talking about Serie A, is like I wouldn't say I'd keep an eye on, but see what the situation is with Tammy Abraham. I think that's a player that took a step away, went out of his comfort zone to go to Italy in a different league, different culture, and obviously has been phenomenal. But yeah, there's definitely that type of profile of player. Talking that, someone like Wood who come in and we needed at the time because of obviously Wilson being injured. If Wilson's fit, I think he's your number one striker, no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Wood might be a player, and again, I might be speaking out of terms here, but maybe by Christmas, if he's not involved as much, do you look to cash in with that and go along and serve a purpose of what we needed at the time? We needed someone to relieve a bit of pressure. Didn't score the goals, but still works hard, been putting himself around, had a bit of a heartbreak with obviously New Zealand not qualifying. But these type of players who have scored goals regular in a tough league that's undoubtedly known about their defending has scored. And it's, as I said, it's refreshing that we're looking at players that other big clubs, European clubs are looking at, and we're in that conversation. I think there's maybe a bit younger, more explosive players than him. But there's a player that you can keep your eye on. You can never have too many good players. And I remember the time when we'd have, Alan Shearer, Les Ferdinand, Ginolas, and then we had a fella called Paul Kitson, who weren't a bad player either.
Yeah, I like Paul Kitson.
And Darren Huckabee, who was another good player that would come in, a young player coming along. So you can never have too many, players that can come in and help out. So, he would interest me. Would he be the first on my list at the moment? No, but I'd definitely keep an eye on that type of profile of a player because he's good with his back to goal. He can bring other people in the game. I would play a little bit different, but that's just that's just how I would do it. But it's nice that we're looking at, but I wouldn't chase it as yet. But we're going to be linked with everybody.
Yeah, we are. Mauro, what are your thoughts on it?
I think we have better options out there. First of all, I think he's not too keen on coming to England. He mentioned a couple of times already that he would like to stay in Italy with either Inter or Milan. And second, I don't know about bringing a player from Italy. He's already 29, 30 or something like that. Not sure if he's too old to adjust to a different league. It's totally different pace and everything. So I would choose somebody else, right?
Gary, you the same?
I would have took him in January.
Yeah, we took a lot in January.
Right, without a doubt. But I think times have just changed, haven't they? So, I mean, I know he's free and everything, but I mean, if he came and said, I'd like to sign my Newcastle, and bring the lad in. But personally, I would go for somebody else.
Yeah, well, there is a few more rumours we're going to talk about. So next one, Jack Harrison. We did mention this a few weeks ago and everyone laughed at us, but it's now starting to break. that Eddie Howe likes him. You should know quite a lot, hopefully, about him because you played in the MLS. He's still only 25. You got Del Piero singing his praises, Frank Lampard singing his praises from his times in the MLS. What did you make of his first season at Leeds in the Premier League?
Yeah, I would sing the praises as well. I've liked him when he was at NYFC. He's direct, quick, left-footed. That's the profile I would like, that's going to, put teams out there. He's played in a system where he can play as a wing-back, attack player. I think his season with Leeds, the way that they play, the energy with Bielsa, and then obviously Jesse Marsch coming in was similar, but in different ways. They play high energy football. He did well in the MLS, got a sweet left foot, can whips in a great ball, a little bit of an old school player where he can get it and just whip it in with his left foot with pace. I like him, the profile, 25 years of age, depending what the fee is. But yeah, he would be definitely one that I would go after if he gets into that silly bracket. But I can't believe they let the kid Calvin Phillips leave for 50 million because I think he's a really good player. I know he's got the Man City. That might be something that Leeds are trying to cash in some of their players. But he was another player that I would have liked because I think he's a really good player. I know he had the injury last season, but I like them two from Leeds. If you're looking at trying to pick players from clubs like Leeds, them two would have been the ones that I would have gone after because I think they're very, very good players.
Yeah, I think 30 million's been quoted, Gary, hasn't it, for Harrison? Do you think that's too much, or do you think that's
right?
I
think it's too much considering we bought Botman for 35. He's a good player. He knows where the back of the net is as well. I would have been tempted to go for Hickey.
Yeah.
The bloke at Brentford who was on his way to Brentford. Because apparently he is a very good talent. And they reckon he could get a top move in a couple of years' time. So
interesting.
And I would have been tempted.
Would you say then, Gary, are we looking for players for the future?
Yeah.
Because we're not there yet. So we I don't think we're a Liverpool or Man City where we can buy someone. We've got if we're buying someone, we want them to come in and improve the squad now. Yeah. So I think you're right. I think give us 2 more years. Yeah. Then I think with the scouting network and with obviously with the director of football, he's going to be looking at these Leipzig players that are playing in Austria that are young kids, players that are playing maybe in France that 20, 21. They're the ones that we can pick up and then develop and then come in. I think at the moment, with the expectations, we've got to buy players now that are going to come in and play. And if not start, at least come off the bench and have an impact. It
would be a good battle between him and Target.
Yeah. Or you, as I said, or you can play like 4 at the back and Target and him in front. It just gives you that. And I always think a left footer, although David was totally different, Ginola, it just opens the whole picture up. If you have 2 left-footed, a left and a right, it just opens the whole picture up. It gives you another thing. So I think you're right to look at players like that are around. Liverpool do it great. They get a big one and then they get a young kid that they're developing, and in 18 months' time, you're starting to say, "Wow, he's a good player." But that's encouraging that we're doing that. It's encouraging. We're looking around,
I mean, Dan Ashworth has already done it as well, hasn't he? So there's a young defender came in, hasn't there? From Scotland. McCarthy or someone. Something like that. So we know it's happening. It's just
got the kid from Spurs as well. They've looked at as well. So
You do know if we do buy Harrison though, Ashworth will wield his magic and you bring him in for about 80 million or something.
Oh yeah, you probably bring it down and then with add-ons and stuff like that.
So if he does come, it'll be near the 20 million bracket mark.
Yeah.
And I would love him.
Or hey, here's another thing. Or you send a couple of players their way.
Yeah. Exactly.
They can have Chris Gill. Mauro, what's your thoughts on Harrison? Are you a fan?
I am. I like Harrison a lot. He would be my first choice. I would prefer if he get the AB, but Harrison is a player that I really like. I think he's right age bracket. The players are looking like 24, 25. I like him as a player, but I don't think Leeds will let him go after losing Rafinha, Phillips. It would be a total rebuild, and I don't see them letting him go.
Yeah, I think they're going to struggle.
Mario, money talks, my
exactly.
friend.
Money talks.
Indeed. You're right.
Right, the big rumor that's going around, this man Tielemans. I'm a massive fan. There's a few Leicester players I would nick, obviously Tielemans, Maddison, Barnes, but Tielemans, Warren. That is literally, if we play a 4-3-3 and you've got Bruno Tielemans and Joe Linton, who's getting past one?
Tielemans is a wonderful player. You know, there's certain players. He's not in that world-class bracket, but he's in that player that always seems that he has time on the ball. You know, he's a player that his touch is good, his awareness. He can do a short pass, he can do a long pass, he can score spectacular goals. He's that next echelon of player. I'm going to throw one in there. If I was to go to Leicester, I'd go and try and get Vardy for a year.
Yeah, a few people have said that.
I'd try and nick. I know he's been injured, but if anything, I think he might relish the opportunity. Last big move, if you like, to come and play for a club like Newcastle. I'm just throwing that out there. Let's get the rumours going. But I like him. I think if you looked at the transfer window and you said, right, Harrison, Tielemans, and maybe another striker, I think, wow, yeah, we've had a great window. But yeah, I do like him. I think he's a very, very good player.
Yeah, I do as well. Mauro?
I like him a lot. I'm a big football manager player, and I remember him. He was a star already when he was 16 and Anderlecht. He was a beast. And I think with Bruno and Jelton, that would be really awesome midfield trio.
Would be, wouldn't it, Gary?
Fantastic football. I don't know if this is like true or they've just pulled it out from somewhere, but I saw a quote that I put on Twitter about an hour ago, where basically was saying that going on about going to a club with a big project.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know whether that came out the day or whether that came out 3 months ago.
And Jacobs tweeted it as well, didn't he?
Yeah, that's why I tend to think there's something in it, because Ben Jacobs is a Leicester fan.
Yeah.
And I tend to think there's something in this.
It is going to be very interesting.
Whether we get him or not, I don't know. But
exactly.
There's something. There's something.
Listen, Gary, if we want him, we're going to get him.
Yeah,
that's the action.
As you said,
as we go out. Dan, get your magic wand, Dan. Get out there, my man.
No.
Get out there and snooze him over a little bit. Get him in there.
I love it. The next one, this one doesn't go away, does it? Paqueta. I mean, everyone's like, just sign him. He's Bruno's best mate. Football terms, Warren, is Paqueta that next level as well?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
He's a no-brainer. You know, if you can get, I thought he already signed. I thought already got him. He's already here, but yeah, I mean, the quality that he can bring, the intelligence of his play. Yeah, it's again another one that just jumps out. I mean, it's amazing that we're having a conversation about these type of players.
Oh, yeah,
should we or shouldn't we? You know, it's that's what the debate is. And for this one, and then he might bring his other mate. He's got another mate as well, Neymar, isn't he? Bring him over as well. let him come over there. I'd love to see that down the quayside on the Friday night. Them lot, they'll have some fun. Yeah.
I absolutely love it. Neymar's a yes for me as well. I know a lot of people don't like him, but he's a star-studded player. Just to say you've had Neymar at Newcastle would be unbelievable. Yeah. It'd be like going back to Tino, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I remember when Douglas Hall had Baggio's shirt on the back of the car when he did it as well. So he left it on the back seat. So maybe we'll get Eddie to ride around with Neymar's shirt on the back seat just in case. But yeah, he has his things, but yeah, that would be another thing. But now we're getting a bit carried away. Let's just stay where we are. That realistically.
Well, let's bring it back down to earth and let's talk about Broja. not exactly Neymar quality, but again, he had half a good season for Southampton. His stats look good. He reminds me a little bit of Mitrovic. He's quite bulky. He likes to bully defenders. He's actually quite quick, and he does know where the net is. I heard Chelsea want to have a pre-season with him, though, Warren. So that kind of leaves it to near the end of the window. But if we can get him for maybe a loan to an option to buy, maybe, do you think it's worth looking at?
Definitely worth looking at. But I think he's got good qualities. Like you said, strong. But I'm going to go Mario's line here. I think there's better out there. And I think Gary said it as well. Not for this, but I think there might be someone else. It doesn't get me. It'd be great, but would I Like, wow, this is going to change us. I'm not sure.
I think he only scored. I know it's not Southampton and all that, but I think he scored about 8 or 9 goals last season out of 30-odd games. It's all right, but is it what we want? And
as a
I
backup,
don't know. Yeah,
that's the way I look at it. Because Wilson is going to be your number one as long as he's fit.
I mean, the player I want. I've said it loads of times. Gury's the one I want.
Gury, yeah.
Aye, he's the one. He's honestly phenomenal player. But I mean, I would take him definitely if it's a loan deal. But I don't know if we're going to wait.
Yeah, we'll take him. We'll have him for.
We'll take him.
Yeah, we'll take him. He can join the gang.
I can join the gang. But I don't think we'll wait that long. Sorry, I don't think we'll wait. I don't think we'll wait.
Yeah.
But I think that's the key for me is that he wants to have a pre-season with Chelsea. Then you lose your pre-season with us. Yeah. It makes it difficult to integrate for the start of the season. So, Mauro, what are your thoughts on Broja?
The same as you guys. I wouldn't take him after the pre-season he had with Chelsea. So I would prefer somebody who we can take straight away and who can get through pre-season with us. Especially for a young player, that's something that you need, and not just throw him at the first game. And so maybe loan, but if it's available now, nothing. Yeah.
There's a few people in the chat have been asking about this bloke and trying to get your opinion on Warren. So he's the last one we're going to talk about is Hugo. Unfortunately, I've heard the deal is now off. Obviously, I honestly thought it was done and dusted. We all got told it was done and dusted. Then his agent started playing funny buggers with his price. Was he protecting the player, Warren, do you think? His agent, taking the heat off him? Because by the sounds of things, what he's come out and said is he only wants to go to Barcelona or Real Madrid.
Well, that's not exactly taking the pressure off him, is it?
Well, no, not really. That's what he said. But the agent took the pressure off him from not going to Newcastle because of he's agreed personal terms. The club agreed a fee. It's just the agent fees that were stopping the deal from going through. And it feels like his agent has basically stepped in and said, well, you're going to give me 15 million or the deal's not on.
And you know what? I like the club have said no then, and if I'm the player, I'd be pretty pissed with my agent that he's trying to stop that going through. I've seen pictures on social media. They look like best of friends. So maybe he's manipulated him a little bit in that respect, and maybe selling him the way that, we might get you to Barcelona. We might, okay, if you don't want to come, your loss, not mine. Let's move on. And that's what I would feel about it. I don't want to try and convince a player, please come and play for Newcastle. Please come and this project is going to be good. I don't want to try and have to convince and force someone and pay someone's agent so he gets what he wants out of it. I think it's a stand, and I think it sends a statement to everybody out there that, again, this train's going, and if you don't want to come, there's loads of young players that are talented players. And what I like at the moment, what I'm seeing is, unlike a Man United, you just showed the graphic there of Harry Maguire, they just seem to buy someone who's the flavour of the month. Pogba, he's it, let's go and get him. Harry Maguire, he's had a good Euro, we'll go and sign him, or vice versa. There's a logic behind what we're doing. We're doing a little bit of homework. What are they like as people? What are they like on social media? What are they? And that's what I've been saying for years, is if you was doing a technical director and you're spending money, go and do a little bit of homework. Go and watch the game. Don't just because an agent sends you a video, gotta say, I'll take him on that, or your agent's a friend of an agent, I would take him. You're dealing with the future of a football club, so make sure you do your right business. And looking what we're getting, it might be an Anthony Martial that he turns up at Newcastle and after 6 months he starts sulking and says, I don't want to be here. And then you've spent your money and now you're trying to recoup some money on a player that doesn't really want to be here, or his agent doesn't want to be here. So I like what the club have done. The club have said, okay, we want you. We've paid the club. Why are we going to pay an agent that type of money? It's not a finder's fee because we knew where he was. It's not that we had to find someone. But, that's the ugly side of the game that there is with the agents, the greed.
It's really disappointing as well because he actually sacked his agent in January because his agent blew the deal from him coming to Newcastle in January. And now he gets a new agent and he's done the same thing. Or it feels like he's done the same thing.
We could be lucky. It could be as I said, we might have been. He looks a talented player. Don't get me wrong on the field.
Yeah.
He looks like he can play, and he's and obviously an international as well, growing into that stature. But it could be a headache that we've dodged a little bit. I hope it may not be, but is it worth having all that to maybe what the potential that we can get of the player on the field?
I mean, you'll be able to answer this, Warren. Can he not just tell his agent, "I want to come"?
Well, just already sacked one. Yeah, he can do. Yeah. He could just say there might be a legal binding thing, but you can always do that. Yeah, no, you can do it. You can say to the agent, "Well, you're not doing it in the best interest of me." The agent will probably say, "Well, if I get 5 million off of Newcastle, I'm going to give you 2 on top." That's the shady business that we work in, and it might be that type. I don't know. We're speculating, but it does work like that. But he's quite able as an agent to turn around, and he'd probably have a really good case if it's already happened that I'm getting rid of you because you're not doing the best interest for me. You're doing what's best for you. Yeah. So that's part and parcel. You've got to do what's best for your client, not what's best for you and your future as an agent.
Yeah. There's a question for you, Warren. Are you going to be getting the new Navy away shirt?
I like the white one, actually. I like the white one.
Yes.
Yeah, I will be getting it. Yeah. I've liked what I've seen with them. Yeah, but they look good. They look stylish.
They do look good, don't they? Paul says the difference between us losing the league and Man United winning it was Peter Schmeichel. I think we touched on that the last couple of times.
We don't need to bring that up again. It's like I start twitching. When you hear Schmeichel and Cantona, I start twitching all the time.
Yeah. I'm just trying to see if there's any other good comments. Good afternoon, champs. Nice to see you. A chance to talk to Warren for being the nicest man in a black and white shirt. Always took the time to chat and say hi. My son grew up with you as his hero. There we go. That's from Mark.
There you go.
Any other ones that we might have missed? Oh, there's a good one from Liam.
I'm gonna ask the people. Have we started to generate some money for the charity? I'm gonna put a little bit of pressure on people. Please.
Yeah, come on, guys. Please donate anything. Like I say, just £1. Everyone donates £1, and it's amazing. I think 2 people have donated nearly £2 each, which is really nice. But come on, guys, hit that donation button. $sign in the bottom right-hand corner. £1 each, and then the charity will be over the moon. And it's an amazing charity, like I say. There's a good one for you. Warren Barton, the first player I met, and how good you were to me and my brothers was made your favourite player, promoted above Beardsley and Shearer. There you go. That's high regard.
I must have been nice. I didn't give her any money, did I?
I was about to say that. Did you hand your wallet over?
Yeah, I might have given him some tickets for the game. Bloody hell. To get over them two. They're 2 legends. They ain't them two.
Remember Warren scoring for Wimbledon v Liverpool at Anfield and thinking, I hope we buy him. You were a brilliant athlete and always be a legend to Nufc, from Michael. That was a good goal, that free kick.
It got a little bit of traction the other day. Someone had dug it out a little bit. It was against Liverpool at the Cop. My only concern is Brucey Govelar was in goal, and I don't know whether it was one of them games they got caught up. Anyway, I never know. But it went in there. It went in the top corner.
I love it. Do you think if Kevin Keegan had changed his footballing philosophy from attacking-minded football to defence, that we would have won the league? I don't think we would have.
He was never going to change. Never going to change. I mean, we went with Kenny the following season and went more defensive-minded, finished second as well, got us in the Champions League. It wouldn't have been so romantic, though, would it? It would have been so much.
Winning 1-0, 1-0. It's the Arsenal way, isn't it? Not the Newcastle way. Yeah. Last question for you, Warren, before we go, because obviously we've done the hour and don't want to keep you too much longer. But this is a big debate at the moment, is the stadium. What do we do? Me personally, as a fan, I'd love to see it expanded. And someone mentioned having a fans park where you can actually watch the game live, but not be in the stadium, obviously. Or the other one is, do we build a super stadium? Do we have to move from St James's Park? What are your thoughts and ideas on that?
I would try and develop what Liverpool have done, wherever, and Old Trafford really trying to extend, obviously with the technology that they have now. To do that, I know certain areas with the buildings we have to be careful. I just think, and again going back, is when you drive into Newcastle, the first thing you see is the stadium on the hill, and if you took that away, you're taking away the heart of the city, I think. And if you moved it somewhere and it was a 80,000 seater stadium and moved it away, then that would be a little bit surreal. But let's keep where we are at the moment, because I think that's what makes it special. Business is business, but we don't need to do that yet. Don't upset people at the moment. I think just stay where we are. Yeah. If we can develop on top of it and have 60, 65, I'd rather have it where it's people like want to get in and want to see it, rather than it just becomes a tourist attraction where people just come in to do that. And that may sound harsh, but I love the interaction with the fans. Is like, I've managed to get 2 tickets for the game, and the excitement of going, rather than, well, I've got 4 tickets here, does anyone need them to go? Where before no one wanted to go to the stadium. So I'd like to try and stay where we are, try and develop, but I do understand the other side of it, that we may have to in time, but we don't need to do it now. We definitely don't need to do it now.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely not one for right now, but maybe
no. It's like
5, 10 years, maybe in the future, potentially.
Yeah.
Because
if I'm still around in 5, 10 years, then you can ask me.
Well, this is the thing. A lot of fans coming from my age and going a little bit older are like, well, St James's Park, we don't want to do it. But there's a new generation of fans who might miss out not being able to go because the stadium won't be big enough. And that's what I'm thinking. If we get big.
Sorry, where are they thinking of putting it then? Where it is, and then like what Tottenham did with their stadium? Has that been the link?
This is the problem. It's because of the underground and obviously the metro line going very close underneath it as well. It's going to be hard, because the idea was to try and dig down, but I don't know if they can do that. There is rumours that Leazes Park could be getting sold by the council, but we tried to do that in 1995, 96, and it got signed a petition that wouldn't happen. So I'm not too sure whether it could go there. Then there's the quayside as well, isn't there, I suppose? So, I mean, I love St James's Park. I mean, that's all I've known. And to move away from it would be heartbreaking. But I always think of the bigger picture. If we want to be the next Man City, the next PSG, we want to be that big, you've got to have a 90,000+ seater stadium, really, especially for Champions League nights and all that sort of stuff. So
the thing is, though, City can't fill it. We would.
Well, they can.
We
can.
Yeah, we can. They can't fill it. Yeah, they can't even fill 50 at the moment, but we
exactly. Can. I mean, I don't know if you know about this one. Obviously, 1,000 season tickets went on sale. Yeah. There was 30-odd thousand in the queue trying to get a hold of 1,000 season tickets. Then 2 days later, they put memberships on sale, which don't go out of stock. And there was still 17,000 people queuing just to get a membership, and it doesn't guarantee you to get a ticket. It's just that's like the Keegan days back when there was 10,000 people waiting. It's crazy
to do that. And you go back 10 months, there was people giving out 10,000 tickets just to go and watch a game.
Yeah,
they couldn't give them away.
They couldn't.
So it just shows you what's happened. So it's great.
Yeah, it is. It's absolutely amazing. Well, Warren, thank you so much for coming on. Guys below as well, thank you so much. We've got some donations in, which has been absolutely amazing. I think it's about 35 quid to go to the charity. So I will add that up and make it to £50, and we'll give that to Maria Curie. If anyone else wants to donate and they're watching the show back later on, there is a super thanks button. Everything will go to this charity because it's amazing and we want to support them as much as we can. Again, Warren, thank you so much for coming on. I can't thank you enough. I know it's the third time and you're probably getting bored of us, but it really makes our night. It really does. And,
no problem. Pleasure. I wish you all well.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll have you on again in
Thank
the
you.
future, without a shadow of a doubt. Guys, we will be back Wednesday, I think it's going to be, for Gallagher Girls, as long as all this COVID is shifted out of the house. Until then, though, enjoy the rest of your evening, guys. Take care.
See you later.